Hey guys, thank you for tuning into Topic Toss. My name is Becca, and every week we're going to have a new topic of discussion with stories, advice, and some music to pass the time. I hope that your week has been starting off great. This week's topic is True Off My Chest. Now, we're coming back to these ones today because I found a couple that were a little crazy, and I think that they should be heard. So, we're going to get straight into our first story today. Our first story says, I left my husband the day after our youngest moved out. He says I've deceived him all of these years. My F49 husband, M51, cheated on me. It was 10 years ago, and when I got a call from the school saying that our youngest, then 9, was sick and needed to go home. When we arrived, I heard them in our bedroom. I panicked and made loud noises to let them know that they weren't home alone and that our daughter was with me. I'm crying just writing this. I still cry whenever I remember that day. The first year after was the hardest on me. I felt so insignificant and inadequate, ugly and undesirable. We started therapy, and my husband promised to do anything to make it work again. We moved apartments and bought new furniture. I started a new habit of changing the sheets every night before bed. All of this wasn't as effective as the one morning when I woke up and realized that I was no longer in love with my husband anymore. After this realization, everything seemed easier moving forward. I saw him as a roommate and a great support raising our children, a good friend. We love our children and we wanted the best for them. For these next 10 years, we hardly ever fought, and we raised 3 beautiful, happy, and successful young people. When I realized that I didn't love him anymore, I also stopped caring what if he did it again. It was one of those nightmares from the beginning. I didn't care anymore as long as I slept in clean sheets every night. Around Christmas, our youngest daughter, who is now 19, got her first contract on her own apartment. That's when I knew I was free. I also set into motion my plans of moving out and getting a divorce. I found myself an apartment too, and I thought my husband can live in our apartment until we settled everything up. When I told him and handed him the divorce papers, he was in shock, and when I moved out the day after our daughter on April 2nd, he was even more shocked and distraught. Now he's telling me that I've deceived him all of these years, acting like I was fine when I wasn't, while he lived in regret every day for how he hurt me. I am cold and calculated, and I am vindictive. I don't recognize any of these accusations, and I don't see things that way. I saw it as me, and of course him, doing the best with what I was dealt with to make a happy and content lives for our family and our family really as a whole. I think that I succeeded. What more could anyone ask of me? Edit. I'm sorry that I can't chat with all of you, and I will try to answer women and men who are have went through similar situations that I want to help. Yes, we still continue to have sex, and it started again 2 to 3 years after it happened. We used protection because I wouldn't let him touch me without it. I said we hardly ever fought, but when we did, it was about sex and the condoms. Also, it went from 2 to 3 times a week to 2 to 3 times per year. In my mind, if he cheated on me when we were very intimate and active, he was probably cheating now. It bothered me less and less with years. I didn't know how long they were sleeping together. I don't want to know who she is, and I never wanted to know. And I just saw her once, and that was the only thing I didn't want to know in therapy. I don't know if he still slept with her or others. I just assumed he did because it was easier for me to expect the worst. I never said I love you to him again, and that's something that we used to say often before. He continued saying it and always told me that he would wait for me to say it back. I didn't need to leave to find happiness sooner. I was happy and lucky having my kids and my home. I didn't need more, but now I see no reason or happiness in staying. I never did what I did to get back at him or to get revenge. My children know that I have left, and they are sad, but my reason was good enough. I was out of love with him, and they didn't know the details, and we are keeping it this way. They don't need to know anything. And no, I don't change my bedding every night now. I have no need to. That is rough. I commend her very much, honestly, because I don't think I could have the self-control to stay in a relationship like that, because I'm one of those type of people, if my feelings are gone in any type of situation, if my feelings are gone, I can't put anything into it. So the fact that she was able to no longer feel love for him and still stick by him, I commend her for that. And I also I don't personally think that I could stay in a relationship where I know that they've cheated, and I think that they probably still are to this day, even if I have no proof. I just personally don't think that I could do that. But like I said, I do commend her in what she did. I commend her for being strong enough to do it. And I'm very happy for her that she was able to go out and change her life for what she wanted now that she felt that she was, like she said, free. So, all the props to her. Now, because she is ready to go on with her life and have that independence now that she's free and alone, I thought the best song would be Miss Independent by Neo because, again, independent woman doesn't need a man. You know, it's just him saying, you know, she's a boss, she does what she does, and that's the vibes that I'm getting from this woman, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, now on to our next story. This one's a little funny to me. It says, my fiance was concerned with my bowel movements, which, to start, the first time I read this, I was so lost on where this story was going to go, and I did not think it was going to go this way. But after I read it, I sat there for about 2 minutes just laughing and because it was so funny to me. So it says, my husband sat me down the other night, and we've been together for 3 years, living together for 2. He asked if I pooped at work. I laughed because I didn't think that he was being serious, but he told me that he was. I said yes, and he asked how many times. I told him, I don't know, sometimes once, maybe none. He said he's concerned because I don't poop at our house, and it's not healthy. He wants me to go see a doctor. I told him that I poop at home all the time and sometimes with him in the next room. He said, and I quote, you're lying because I'll go right after you and it doesn't smell and there's not even a skid mark. I am losing it at this point, trying to stop myself from laughing. I reminded him that I haven't had a gallbladder since I was 14, and I told him I was so self-conscious pooping at school that I learned tricks to not make it as bad. I would put down toilet paper to help reduce the chance of a skid mark and even spray perfume. Now I just use potpourri. And that night I didn't do anything to cover up the smell, and he said that he was sorry and he just got concerned. But it was still sweet and no doubt uncomfortable for him to be bringing it up. Today I got a text from him. The skid mark trick works. Love you. I read this one to Stacy, and she was like, wow, that's the best ad I've ever seen for poopery ever. I could not stop laughing. I could. I'm laughing now just thinking about it. Imagine how awkward this situation was. Like your fiance looking at you and going, okay, we need to sit down. I need to talk to you. And you're like, oh my God, what? Like, what's going on? And he just walks up to you and goes, we need to talk about your poop. This is a problem. We need to figure it out. And the fact that she couldn't even keep it together, like even she was laughing hysterically. 10 out of 10. But I will say that poopery stuff really does work. It's a miracle in a bottle. So this is an ad. If you've never used it, use it. It's good. All right. So this story was absolute nonsense. So I thought the best song would be Nonsense by Sabrina Carpenter because it's just a bunch of like random stuff. It's funny. It's hilarious to me and my roommate. So hope you guys enjoy and you stick around for the next story. All right, our next story is titled, My Sister Didn't Get Into a Single One of Her Dream Schools, and I'm Living for It. I don't like my younger sister. I will admit that. She's always been a daddy's girl and never faced a single consequence in her life. While my parents are not narcissists or abusive, they've always been softer with my younger sister than any of my other siblings. She's always been given privileges that were never given to any of the other siblings. It does not help that she's a selfish brat who has made it her mission to make all of her siblings' lives as hard as possible growing up. At some point, younger sister realized that she can lie and get away with it or really do anything and not face any consequences. This ranged from petty lying to getting us all in trouble to actual crime. She used to steal any cash that she could find from all of us. My parents defended her and brushed it off even after my older sister caught her on camera doing it. Younger sister graduates from high school this year, and my parents have been awfully quiet about her academics for the last 2 years. Despite all of their other children having high marks academically, all now having college degrees, they could never stop gushing about younger sister and how smart she was. Until 2 years ago when she nearly failed high school by ditching for an entire semester. Her GPA is now abysmal. She's barely graduating from what I've heard, yet my parents and younger sister still thought she was going to get into a good school. Younger sister's dream school was Yale, with Harvard being a second pick. I am not joking. Despite her graduation quickly approaching, I've heard nothing about younger sister's college plans. It turns out that my parents and she had kept it a secret because she got accepted into 0 of the schools that she wanted. They applied to 12 and she only got accepted into 1. The school that she got accepted to accepts literally anyone with a pulse that can pay. What makes this more cathartic to me and makes me much pettier, when I and my older brother went to college, my father refused to use the money that he saved for our college on us, claiming that because we got scholarships, we didn't need it and that he would save it for younger sister. I know for a fact that younger sister is distraught right now. The point is moot anyways because she would fail/drop out of school anyway. But for the first time in her life, she's actually facing consequences, and I'm living for it right now. Okay. So obviously I'm not gonna, condone thinking badly of your sister. However, I think she kind of deserves this kind of treatment. I mean, I'm sorry. Did she really think that she was gonna survive at Yale or Harvard when she couldn't handle high school? Because I know there's somebody that I know that I went to high school with who was one of the smartest people I've known, and even they didn't get into Yale. So somebody whose GPA is basically failing and skipped an entire semester of school genuinely thinks that she's going to get into Yale. You can't make that make sense to me. Somebody in the comments said something that made me agree, I guess you could say. It's hard getting into Yale. You could have a perfect GPA with perfect test scores, and you still aren't automatically going to get into Yale. You need to be somebody who is very, very active in your community or very active in your academics. You can't just get into Yale because you're smart. And at this point, even if she could be very smart for all we know, and she just gave up because she didn't go to school. But that doesn't change the fact that her test scores don't even prove that. So for that reason, I don't even know why she tried. But it seems like she's getting the karma that she's been deserving her entire life. So like I said before, I don't feel bad. But I do hope that she doesn't give up because that's not good. We don't want anybody to give up around here. I didn't give up. I don't want to condone anybody else giving up. But, I think it was the slight pushback or shove that was kind of needed to get her to realize this is how the world works. And we got to keep moving forward. Now, because this girl is giving me lazy vibes, doesn't want to go to school, I don't want to do anything, blah, blah, blah. The funniest song that I could think of was the Lazy song by Bruno Mars, because it's literally just him saying, today I don't feel like doing anything. And those are the vibes that she has brought throughout the semester and about her grades. So it seemed fitting enough. Hope you enjoy. All right, so our story today says, I will probably leave my husband over him demanding a paternity test. So me and my husband have been together for 6 years and married for 3. We met in college and we're now both in our early 30s, and our relationship has been pretty smooth sailing so far. The only thing that has ever irked me is that we were never compatible in the bedroom department, with me regularly getting the short end of the stick in terms of satisfaction. He is super vanilla and won't even try to do things for my sake. I've pretty much given up because he gets touchy and pouts for literally days whenever I try to talk about it, no matter how sensitive I try to be. After deciding that we were ready to have a baby, we tried for almost a year and I'm finally expecting. I'm currently in my 4th month. However, yesterday, my husband asked me if we could do a paternity test completely out of the blue. At first, I thought I heard him wrong, and when he doubled down, I laughed because I thought that he was making a bad joke. But no, he was actually dead serious. As soon as I realized that, I immediately felt sick to my stomach. I asked him why he wanted a test, and he said that he wanted to make sure that the baby is his. I asked him if he was suspecting me of cheating, and he said no. I pointed out that I work full-time and spend every single minute I have with him. So when would I even find the time to cheat, even if I wanted to, which I don't? He got angry with me and said that I have no idea what it's like to be the man and have no control over the whole pregnancy situation, and that he didn't want to be a doormat stuck raising a cuckoo's egg, his words. He claimed he has a right to know for certain, and I admittedly snapped and said that he does know for certain because I told him so, and that I would know the father of my own child, right? He smugly said, that's what, oh, this part makes me mad. He smugly said that's what any cheater would say, and that he deserves proof so that he can have peace of mind. In our country, not the US, paternity tests have to be consented by both parents or be court ordered. So I told him in no uncertain terms that I do not consent, and if he files a petition to the court to get the test done against my will, then he will also file for divorce while he's at it, because in that case, I'm done here. He got huffy and claimed I wouldn't get this upset at the situation unless I had something to hide. At this point, I've had it and said, well, if after 6 years of patience and loyalty, despite the fact that you suck in bed, this is the thanks that I get, the only thing I've been hiding is my disappointment in you. He stared blankly at me for a moment and then he started crying. I left him standing, threw a bag of essentials together, and left for my parents. I feel like my whole world has collapsed. My mom is trying to play mediator and has spoken to him in the meantime. She told me that he is very hurt by my comment and he wants me to apologize for that at the very least as a way of meeting him in the middle. On one side, I know what I said was way, way below the belt. But on the other hand, I feel absolutely justified to have finally said it out loud after tiptoeing around his feelings for years while neglecting my own needs in this relationship. I'm more and more sure that I don't want to go back. I'd rather be a single mom than coddling his insecurities one day longer. Thank you for reading. This post made me so mad. I can't even begin to explain how mad it made me. The first I'll set the scene. Imagine me sitting in my bed, Stacy's in her bed next to me, and I'm reading this and I have just, oh my God, painted on my face. I wasn't even completely finished with the story. I only got to the point where he said that he was going to be stuck raising a cuckoo's egg. When she looked at me and she goes, is everything okay? And I was like, no, it is most certainly not okay. And showed her exactly what I was reading. And she agreed with me that this man is way out of his league right now. How dare you, first of all, when I practically spend every minute with you, accuse me of cheating, because asking for a paternity test is 100% an accusation of cheating. And you cannot, you can't like turn it any other way. You can't. I'd love to see somebody try. But Stacy made a point that I wholeheartedly believe, and she said that, okay, you want a paternity test? I'll consent, but if you want to go through with it, that means you're also filing for divorce. Because I will not have my partner sitting here next to me believing that I cheated on them or believing that the baby that I'm carrying is not theirs. And that is mine and Stacy's hot take on this situation. So I love this song, And I love Rihanna, and I will do anything for Rihanna. And the first song that I thought of that fit so well with this story was Needed Me. And she's just one of those boss ladies where she could do no wrong by me. So to fit with this story, I have Needed Me by Rihanna. Hope you enjoy. All right, so our next one says, I just found out the true reason that my dad wanted to start a business with me. In 2018, my dad planned to open a plant shop and asked me if I wanted to help, since he was still working his full time job and would not be able to have time to manage the shop. Now, my dad loves plants. The house is filled with them, and he comes every day after work to care and check in on them. He's extremely knowledgeable about them and could tell if a plant was sick and how to treat it without ever having gone to school for it. He told me that he's really wanted to try it and hoped he could make something out of it. At this point, I had gotten discharged from the military and wasn't doing much. Plus, it was rare that he would ask for my help, so I said sure. Within a week or two, we opened the shop and we planned the prices, stocks, and he taught me the basics on how to take care of the various plants, how to make terrariums for sale, and everything else I needed to know to run the shop when he wasn't around. We sold succulents, various flowers, bonsai, seeds, and anything we thought looked fun and interesting. He sourced all of that himself. He came by every day when we had a break from work and even offered delivery services to customers. Unfortunately, the shop didn't last long. The rent was expensive and foot traffic was low, so he was essentially bleeding money. It didn't help that he insisted on paying me a full living wage either. Eventually, I couldn't bear to see him work so hard and lose so much money, and I told him that I didn't want to do it anymore, and the shop then closed, and that was that. I've always felt bad about how it ended and regretted how I didn't stick it out longer with this thing that he had worked so hard for and loved. I decided that once I had had enough money in the future that I would help him restart the business. Cut to a few days ago, and I casually asked my mom if my dad had ever mentioned anything about starting the business again, since he was so into it. She was confused at first and then told me the truth. He didn't start the business because he wanted to. He just wanted me to have something to do to keep me busy. I didn't mention why I was discharged from the military earlier. It was because I had attempted to off myself after a severe bout of depression. He came up with the business idea while inviting me in the psych ward after I had mentioned how doing nothing all day makes me feel worse. He heard this little comment of mine and just went with it. He knew that he was going to lose money, but did it anyways. We're not rich by any means, and he used his savings to do this. My mom wasn't supposed to tell me this, and he knew that if he had told me the truth in the beginning that I would have said no, because it was too much trouble, and if I had found out now, that I would just feel bad. As long as it was something that had helped me, he was okay with things as it was. I don't know what I'm feeling about this. Like most Asian dads and sons, we've never really been affectionate with one another, not with words at least. He's always been more of a silent supporter type, showing up to every achievement and struggle that I've had. He never said that he cared. He visited me multiple times a day, every day when I was in the psych ward. I want to thank him, but he would be uncomfortable. I want to say I love him, but he would do the boomer equivalent of cringing. I do plan to thank him at some point, but I'm also feeling very uncomfortable because it's just not how we do things. In the meantime though, thank you dad, I love you. Edit. I was not expecting this many comments. I posted this last night and when I went to bed and woke up overwhelmed with all these responses. I will thank him, but as many suggested, I will do it with actions. I love the idea of taking him to a botanical garden in my country. This is something that someone suggested, and I'm making plans. I would like to do more. I don't know if it will ever feel enough, though. So I'm looking into getting more plants and equipment for him. My mom will not be happy at more plant things taking up space, but she'll understand. I'll always try my best to live a good and happy life, as that's important to him as well, as some of you have pointed out. And this writer also said that they are doing a lot better mentally, so that is also nice. This was such a heartwarming story to me. I was so happy comparatively to the last one with reading this because it's just so beautiful hearing about a father that, you know, didn't care what they were doing to themselves, like financially, just to help, his son. Especially because you hear a lot about, dad and son relationships, stick it out, you gotta just go on and move, but hearing him actually do something to help him feels very refreshing because I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't hear about that often. So it's just very refreshing to hear. And like they said, they don't really say I love yous in words. So it being in action is more than enough. And I think that it is a very beautiful action that was done. So that's my take on it. I like I said, this is such a heartwarming story, and I love the idea of taking him to go see the botanical gardens because, like, that he loves plants and flowers, and I just think that's such a cute idea. Now, for some reason, just thinking about plants and flowers and gardens made me think of a rose. And when I thought of a rose, my first instinct was Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison. Now, this is not a happy song. It's about cheating. So it doesn't really go along with the happy father son, heartwarming story that just happened. But I love this song. I think it's a really great song. And like I said, I thought of a rose, and the past was the past. It happened. So I hope you guys enjoy the song and stick around for our last story today. All right, so our last story today says, my son's friend's parents want to adopt him. All names have been changed to protect everyone involved. I, 24F, am a single mom to my son Owen, 8. It's been just us since day one. His father isn't in the picture and has been able to avoid child support for years now. And yes, I've tried everything. My own parents disowned me. I had to drop out of high school and have worked a myriad of jobs since then to keep us afloat. We aren't on the poverty line by any means, but we definitely live paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. It's not ideal, and I hope within the next couple of years that we'll have some place bigger. For now, it's our situation. I've raised Owen to know that money isn't everything. We may not have a lot, he won't always have the nicest, newest this or that, but we have each other. The two of us are very close, and he has never gone without the basics, but I admit he doesn't get a lot of fun extras. I try to save a little here and there and make birthdays and holidays fun, but it's still never anything glamorous. And I still think that Owen was fine with that until recently anyway. In our area, all of the public schools are based on a lottery system, so your child has a fair shot of going to any of them, so long as you put in their name. Our neighborhood school is not great and in a pretty crappy area, so I decided to put him in a different one across town. It's near my job, so it ended up working out. Last year, when he was in second grade, he met Charlie. They began hanging out a lot after school, and with Owen going to his place, I met Charlie's parents, Nate and Paige, a couple of times before this began. They seemed very nice and supportive. Owen always had a great time at their house. Charlie occasionally came to our apartment, but usually they were at his place, which made sense. I worked, and there's not really much for them to do here, even when I am off. Summer breaks are easy to find care, as there's several free or low-cost camps that I could put Owen in. It's the shorter breaks, such as Christmas and spring, that are harder, and usually space is limited. Spring break of 2022, I managed to just miss registration. Paige is a stay-at-home mom and offered to take Owen for a week. I was hesitant to ask this much of her, but she insisted. He had a really fun time with them. They did a ton of activities, and Paige refused my attempts to pay her back at some point. I admit I did feel a tad uncomfortable with her spending this much time with my son, but at the same time, I didn't want to deprive Owen of this stuff. Summer came, and while I did get Owen into camp, he spent a ton of time with Charlie as well. He ended up going on vacation with them. I was again very hesitant, but the experience was something that I could never give Owen, and it wasn't too far away. He had a blast. I kept telling Nate and Paige that there's no way I could ever pay them back, and they kept insisting that they loved having Owen around, and they told me that he was a great kid, sweet and respectful. I really pressed Paige as to why she was so insistent on having Owen around so much. That's when she told me that they never planned for Charlie to be an only child, but all of their attempts at giving him a sibling just didn't happen. They know that Owen will never make up for not having a brother, but if they can give him a consistent playmate so he's not lonely, they'll do it. Should this have been a red flag? Maybe. I found it sweet that the boys considered each other brothers. I thought it was innocent. Surely Paige and Nate knew the truth, right? Right? This continued for a bit, and come Christmas break of 2022, Paige and Nate insisted that I not even bother try and get Owen into camp, and that they'd take care of him for me. I was grateful, and they ended up getting him more Christmas gifts than I did. I tried to set my pride aside because it was about Owen, not me. This is when things finally started seeming off to me. I understood a gift on his birthday, and while they didn't get him as many gifts as they got Charlie, it was a lot more than you would typically get your kid's friend. Fast forward to now. Spring break was last week, and this time, Paige and Nate didn't just offer to take care of him during the day while I worked. They asked if Owen could spend the entire week at their house. Honestly, it meant I could pick up some more shifts and save up on a bike that Owen wants for his birthday, so I said yes. I went to pick him up on Saturday afternoon, and the kids were playing out back, so Nate and Paige asked to talk to me. They sat me down and said that they love Owen, and he's always such a joy to have. I thanked them profusely and all they'd done for him. Paige suggested that Owen stay a little longer. I pointed out that Easter was Sunday, plus school started up on Monday. They said that they could take him to school. I felt weird and said no. It was time for Owen to come home. That's when Nate suggested that Owen stay with them long term. I could still see him, but they would take care of him. I thought they were joking and said, like what, you'd be his guardians or something? They got quiet and reality rushed over me. I pointed out this wasn't a movie. They can't just get custody. They started spouting some legal stuff about how I could assign them as guardians and they would help make the transition smooth. They told me to think about Owen and what's best for him. I told them that there was no way in hell I was going to give up my son. I grabbed Owen and left. I've blocked their numbers. Owen has no clue what's going on. I'm keeping him home tomorrow and took the day off of work to figure out some stuff. Legally, they can't take him, but now I know that they want him and I'm terrified. I don't want him going back to that school. Do we move? I'm so lost, and I feel so stupid because looking back, all of the warning signs were there. I know Owen is going to be devastated losing Charlie, Paige, and Nate. How am I ever going to explain this to him? The first update says, while I understand those saying that they have potentially meant well and weren't trying to be offensive, it's still a risk that I can't take. It's not like they offered to take him every so often. They wanted him full-time permanently. To those who said that I should just let them, please pass me whatever you're on. I will never give up my son. Do we have the newest this or that? No. We have our needs met, and I love my son, and I'm not letting him go. As for everyone else, I took your advice and reached out to the school. I told them that Paige and Nate are no longer allowed to pick up Owen and explained that I do not feel safe with them around each other. They understood. There's not much that they can do outside of making sure that they never pick him up. It's too late in the year to move classes, but next year Charlie and Owen will not be in the same class. I notified the police, but again, they can't do much. We have zero in writing, and a simple request to have my child really isn't breaking any laws. Unfortunately, all I can do is hope that they don't try anything. I still haven't spoken to Owen, and I think it's fine if he talks to Charlie and plays with him at school, but I have to find a way to explain why they can't have play dates or sleepovers, as well as to never go anywhere near Nate and Paige. I guess that'll come in time. Now there's a second update that says, Monday night I talked to Owen and explained that Nate and Paige were not safe. He was confused, and I explained that they wanted to take him away from me. I think it spooked him as he started crying, saying that he didn't want to leave me and he didn't want to see them again. I held him and I assured him that he wasn't going anywhere. He understands that he is never to go anywhere near them and that the school is taking measures to protect him. I said that he could talk and play with Charlie at school, and he said that he doesn't want to. I was honestly worried that he'd hate me, but you were all right. Telling him the full story made him realize how serious it was. He understands the gifts and trips are over now, and he's all right with it. Also, I wanted to address, I've gotten a couple of people offering me money and gifts. Please do not do that. I'm very appreciative, but that's not what the purpose of this post was. If you wish to do something, donate to a local shelter or other charity. Owen and I are not in need. I'd rather see it to go to people who are. I didn't see Nate or Paige at drop off, nor have I gotten any contact. Then again, I did block them everywhere. Thank you for all your help. I'll update if anything else happens. Hopefully, it won't. This story was crazy. This story is the one that made me decide to do this topic again. Could you imagine the confidence you need to have to ask somebody, "Hey, can I have your kid?" Obviously, they probably said it a little more eloquently than I did, but it happened. They asked, and they meant it. She changed her name on here to Living in Fear Mom. Like, that is wild and crazy to me. Like, genuinely, I don't know what I would do in this situation. I am very happy that people brought up that she should contact the school so that at least the school is aware. That's very good. And like I said, I literally just can't believe it. I am flabbergasted. I can't tell you last time I got to use that word, but I wholeheartedly mean it today. I am flabbergasted at people thinking that they can ask somebody if they can have their kid. And like she said, I know that they think that they were doing the right thing and think of Owen, but you also need to think about Owen and how losing his mother can also have an effect on him. And I think that would have a bigger effect on him than growing up learning that, like, okay, we don't have the best. And like she said, they aren't near the poverty line. They just don't get new stuff all the time. Like, I get it. But thinking that you can just have somebody's kid because you can give them a better life, that's not okay. Yeah. I'm gonna leave that. I'm leaving all of that in just so you can truly understand how psychotic I feel in my brain hearing this. Now, the psychotic vibes that are going on in my brain right now and how genuinely crazy I think this man is warrants this last song today, and that is Green Day's Basket Case, because genuinely, I think that he is one. I really do. Second of all, go have fun in a psych ward, okay? I don't want to deal with you anymore. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed all of my stories today. Now, like I said before, this week's topic was Off My Chest, and all of these stories were from the True Off My Chest subreddit. And I hope that you enjoyed the songs that went along with it. I thought some of them were kind of funny, some of them were just, ones that I like. But I hope that you enjoyed and you stick around next week at 1 o'clock on radio and 7 o'clock on YouTube. And have a good week. I will see you again. This is Topic Talks with Becca, and that is all.